Most people talk about Blue Mondays, but for me, Fridays are the bluest. I am scared because today is Thursday. My husband comes home tomorrow. He's loving and kind, but not towards me. He has my heart thumping like a marching band. My palms are sweaty and I can't sleep. I'm too worried about tomorrow. At sunrise, I hear his key turning in the door, and without a hello, love, or how was your day, he starts calling me names. You lazy bitch! Why are you still in bed? It's 6 a.m. What did he expect? And then the love rain falls. Hard, endless, painful.
You know, it's like nobody cares about us. Why must we care? And I can tell you, out of every household, someone was killed in this community. Out of every household, either there was violence in that house. Even it wasn't killed, it was rape, it was abuse, it was a robbery.
Seeing someone being shot in front of you, it's traumatizing. How can that happen? How can someone else do that to someone's child? And losing your siblings, losing family members because of children that can't even spell their own name.
I can see the powerful thing that really upsets a person when you have an ambition to become a teacher and you are in a place, but you see how children can't get what they need in life. The violence has an effect on the children because you can see their behavioral problems we have.
As I can say, domestic violence, there's a lot of alcohol abuse, lot of substance abuse. There is where the domestic violence come out. When some, maybe his husband and wife, then the husband he use tick, the drugs. And then when he's on tick and then the beating starts. Or then he haven't got money to buy some drugs. And then he starts stealing in the house and the wife is going to talk, why you steal in the house? And then he start beating her.
I'm currently a volunteer field worker at a victim support center, new name Helenvale Widow Center of Hope. We assist clients of domestic violence and we do mediations. We also work in schools and small groups in the community like the dialogues. So we do a lot of work in the community.
I'm here a field worker, the project manager of the Helenvale Widow Center of Hope. The Helenvale Widow Center of Hope, we did start here on the premises of Bayview Primary School on the 13th of August 2013. We're dealing with victims of domestic violence, also rape victims, also homeless people, neglected children, abused women. In Helenvale, there's a lot of women abuse. Some of the women, they come here to us for help. The women then say, maybe I'm now sick and tired of the domestic violence in my marriage. Then they need space and ask for, can they maybe remove out of their houses just to get out of the domestic violence.
So the interdisciplinary nature of the program interventions was one of the things that we had to really do differently. Young people come to school, are traumatized from their domestic environment. This affects the quality of the schooling. It affects a whole number of things. In our Safer Schools approach, we created what we call the counseling access points, which was a space for counseling, training and rehabilitation of young people.
If we see there's neglect or abuse, and that I phoned the social workers. In November month, there were a young lady, she got a child over 9 months old. She's using tick. And one morning, then a sister came and called me at about 5:45 in the morning. And I saw her. The child was here under her whole body. The child was laying there. And then we tried to grab the child, but she started fighting with us. Then I phoned the social worker and told him, this child must be removed. They went there and they removed the child. The child is now in a place of safety.
First priority was to partner with an organization called White Door of Hope and the Victim Support Center at Helenvale Police Station to pilot the counseling access points and disperse access to social services, including counseling services, trauma debriefing, and helping people to heal. We had a situation where Galvandale Police Station Victim Support Center, that's based there in a container, was not sufficiently confidential for people. There was another container at Helenvale Primary that was used for counseling and for Department of Social Development, but people would not have privacy, confidentiality of information. And we initially set up social service under domestic violence at Helenvale Resource Center. And that dealt with a lot of the confidentiality and a lot of the safe space environment. But we also realized that in itself is a barrier for a lot of people, because territorial challenges to Helenvale means that you don't want to cross gang areas in order to access a service. Helenvale Resource Center is at the center of Helenvale, and if you come from Extension 5 or Barcelona, you have to walk through dangerous areas to actually get there. So a lot of people did not necessarily make use of that service.
And we as the Helenvale Widow Center, we're working then closely with organization who helps the people who like Connor Bushley Center. They help the people who is abused, they help the rape victims. Then we refer, and then we get help from them to keep maybe the abused woman for a month, for 2 months. But after then the people, the abused woman, they come back in the community again.
Domestic violence prevention, the Victim Support Center concept was high on the agenda, simply because that, yes, it's a very violent neighborhood, but it's not just on the streets where this is happening, it's in people's homes as well. So a lot of the ladies, a lot of the youth has raised a lot of issues that was just heartbreaking to say that if possible, give people are hurt, people are I want to say damaged, but there's a lot of issues that psychologically they are carrying that contributes to the sort of thing that we see playing itself out in the streets among how people deal with aggression and violence and trauma, etc. So the Victim Support Center was specifically crafted around that. So it was, yes, the support in terms of counseling facilities and training and capacity building, but also the construction of a one-stop center, a facility that would house people that needed a safe haven overnight, somebody that's in trouble, that they had nowhere to go, but also a facility in conjunction with the SAPs that could actually deal with, process and assist victims of domestic violence.
We come together on a Thursday morning at 10 a.m. each week. The ladies usually attend. Some of us have got strong testimonies about your life, how you came here, what they did for you, how they helped. Most of them are unemployed, carrying a burden of domestic violence. Some of them don't talk. They don't have somebody to confide in. But when they get to the dialogue, then one of us or two of us we chat to the lady as we see this lady's got a problem or whatever. Then we tell her that we can help her by referring her to the different institutes that there is. We would send them to the Widow Center. because it's not far. It's just down here. The school down here. There's an office there. And that's the Wido Center. The other one is at the steps.
It's when MBDA comes in here under the SPUU, there were a lot of help. Because why? We as the Helenvale Wido Center, we also did receive funding under the CDF for help with the soup kitchen. We then started the soup kitchen also in 2013 with the help of SPUU and the help of Quick Spa, who give us donations. But when the SPUU comes in MBDA here in Helenvale, there were a lot of people's lives with the change.
Okay, my involvement with the SPUU comes on from the 2013 when they started doing the footwork on finding out about how it will incorporate with what's going on. SPUU was for me a real stepping stone to create the platform, to bring in the counseling, to bring in psychologists, to bring in the social workers, the victim support that was run from our school, career guidance that was run from our school was all SPUU projects that Hillcrest could embrace, and that really it supported our learners because it was not just for one grade, it actually covered from grade R to grade 7. They could tap into what was offered. And what is standing out for me at the projects that's still running at our school at the moment is the White Door of Hope, and that's the type of social working and support system for learners and parents that need some counseling and guidance with not only social problems but also domestic problems.
And the strategy was then to say each of the schools dispersed across the community, we would have these CAPS centers. And that was one of the innovations where we blended the domestic violence responses with service providers partnering with us, PE Mental Health, FAMSA, NICRO, and all of those at Helenvale Resource Centers, and with the White Door of Hope and the Victim Support Center, expanding that service into the schools as satellite centers so that people can access it much more readily. So that was an example of how we had to think differently about addressing the matter of access to social services. A lot of networking happened between these organizations, and we could see an uptick in the social services access points, not just at the schools, but at Helenvale Resource Center. And we had created a baseline of being able to track what sort of things people come for and what interventions there were. In domestic violence, as I mentioned earlier, we invested quite a lot of time and resource and capacity in building the community agencies to be more responsive. We trained people that was in the White Door of Hope, in the victim support volunteers. We trained schools, we trained faith-based organizations, we trained service organizations into how to handle and respond to trauma, and to be, at the very least, be able to refer people. So that was part of the orientation, and schools were a critical part of that approach.
My hope for Helenvale, what do I see Helenvale in 10 years' time? And so in my mind is that, we can't eradicate the problems as it is now. It's like a seed. When you plant a seed, everything is dark there. That seed doesn't know what's going on with him, But as that seed grows, you will see the light.